Hi, this is Jeff Blauette, Technical Agronomist with Cooperative Farmers Elevator. And on this week's Field Friday segment, we're going to wrap the season here. This will be our final episode for 2019. Hopefully it was informative enough where it was worth your time and effort to follow this series this season. But I thought we'd kind of finish up with kind of a season wrap. Any meeting you go to probably this winter, they're going to talk about, the weather, and that's, obviously it's germane to what we're talking about for the crop season always. But I thought I'd dig into some of the details. We all know that the corn's late and wet, and we've been struggling to get harvest. Harvest is late, but I thought I'd put some numbers to it and a little bit of recent historical perspective. So I've got some maps here that we'll look at. We'll look at some of the trends and what we had for this season for temperature and moisture accumulation. And then I'll touch on something else we talked about earlier this year with solar radiation and how that is measured and compared to other years. But if you look at one of these maps here, we've got basically a temperature range, how it compares to average from April 1st through the end of June. If we look at that, you're basically seeing we're several degrees below normal per day, basically on average, and so that this map shows you the whole state of Iowa. Obviously, we're up in the northwest corner here and into Minnesota and South Dakota, but you can kind of see where the trend is. We were cooler than average. We all knew that. If we look at this next map, we've basically got a preset map for that same time frame, and you can see we're really high moisture for inches above average here, anywhere from, depending on where you're at in the territory, but 3 to 8 inches above normal, depending on exactly where you fall in geography. If we compound that with, we already had wet soil, and we were really above average in moisture in March as well. We started out with lots of water to deal with. The next map here we've got, and this one actually surprised me a little bit, but from July 1st through the end of September, temperature-wise, we were actually a tick above average. We did kind of straighten out into July and through August a little bit. It was a little bit more seasonal, so I think that was beneficial. So we did, have pretty decent conditions then. If we look at this preset map for that time frame, we were above average, but not so terrible through September. We were already wet before, and obviously we've been, subsoil wise, but most of us realize, or I heard guys telling me that, the tile lines kind of quit running later this fall or this season, and that was because of that rainfall being more average, and we had time to catch up. Keep in mind, these temperature and preset maps are only through the end of September. If we kind of know what October's been here. October's not completed yet, but we kind of know what we're looking at. We're below normal in temperatures, and we've had probably not so terrible much volume of precip, but we've had some of the white precip, which is never beneficial. And on top of all of this, we planted late, so everything started behind just based on our planting. The last chart here we've got a measurement from the weather station we have at Dune. We've got one in near Ocheeden, which is basically showing the same trends. But we talked earlier this summer about solar radiation and what we have for sunlight intensity, and it seemed like we were not only cooler than average, but we had less sun by a ways. And this is a measurement called Langley's. I don't know what Langley's even is. It's a measurement of solar radiation, but it is a comparison of the last 6 years compared to this year. I did that in Langley's, and then I put a percentage on it compared to this year. You can see that this year we had the least compared to some years by quite a ways. Also, I ran that same chart for GDUs, or growing degree units, and compared that percentage wise. So you can see we were behind in heat units other than 2014. 2014 we were about the same. This is from May 15 through October 20th is when I ran these numbers. But if you compound the least sunlight and just about the least heat units with the late planting date, that's why we have the corn that we have, being wet, harvest being late, everything being delayed. And then I also have, if we combined and average the percentages, of GDUs and solar radiation, you can see we're behind every year in the recent history for that. So I guess realistically, it's no mystery why we have the crop we have, the moisture we have now, with the forecast for next week being, highs in the 30s, chance of some snowflakes and that. We're not going to dry corn anymore. I think it's pretty rare that we're going to get, we could still get some warm weather here the very early part of November, but I'm not betting on it. So looking at what these stalks look like, we've talked about that in earlier episodes. We're just going to probably have to deal with that. We're going to have to take some of this crop out before it goes down and dry it. It's unfortunate, but that's the situation we're in this year, and the near forecast doesn't look favorable. So I think now we're getting close to wrapping up beans. A lot of guys are getting close to done, or maybe are done. We need to get into this corn. We really can't wait anymore. I think it'd be beneficial to you. So I just wanted to do a season wrap, touch on where we're at, and put some numbers to it so we have a little bit of perspective. So it doesn't surprise anybody. Everybody kind of understands, but I wanted to put numbers to it for you. So I guess with that, that's a wrap for 2019. Thanks for following, and we'll try and do some educational things for next year. We'll see ya.